Yemen is quite simply the most distressing place I've ever been. As Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, fight the Yemeni President, who is backed by a Saudi-led coalition of Arab countries. The fighting, and in particular the bombing of key transport links, has led to severe food shortages and malnutrition. I went to Yemen last year to meet those affected, and be warned, there are some very upsetting images of starving children in this report. I'm in rebel territory. Shia Muslim fighters called Houthis have taken over the capital and, with the backing of Iran, have driven out the Sunni Muslim president. He's backed by a Saudi-led coalition that's been bombing for 18 months with British weapons and military advisors. The casualties of this war aren't just those hit by the bombs and the bullets. The economic impact has been catastrophic for the general population. Food supplies have been massively disrupted, prices have gone up, and millions of people are now living with the effects of malnutrition. The waiting room in Sanaa's Children's Hospital is overflowing. Every day, children like Imtiaz arrive, starving. She's 2 years old and weighs just 4 kilos.
طيب من أول من قبل يجي الإسهال كانت كده ضعيفة؟
لا قد كان فيها
Dr. Sabah Al-Jaradi is the junior doctor on duty. She's already seen a lifetime of suffering. Is the main reason this child looks like this because of malnutrition or because of any other illness?
Malnutrition complicated by chest infection. Malnutrition people have weak immunity,
right.
So they are susceptible for many other diseases, many other infections. They are getting sick easily.
The war has caused shortages that have sent food prices through the roof. The economy is destroyed and there's little work, so many families can barely afford to eat. What do you feed her?
بس ماء الحليب حليب نيدوه من هذا النيدوه الكبير.
Why does she only eat bread and milk? Imtiaz's condition is extremely serious. The next few days will decide if she lives or dies. According to the UN, there are more than 370,000 children in Yemen right now just like her, in the same severe state of malnutrition. The doctor is called to help a 5-month-old boy called Atan, who's just been brought in by terrified parents. Malnutrition has left him tiny, frail, and he's struggling to breathe. Atan is suffering because his mother is so malnourished that she's unable to breastfeed anymore. And now he's got gastroenteritis from the goat's milk she gave him instead. Just as they're weighing him, he suddenly stops breathing. So they're pumping air down his mouth and nose. It looks very serious indeed. That was really very scary. You could see from the look on the faces of the doctors and nurses that Atan was really in a very bad way and came very close to losing his life then. But he seems to have stabilized now and his breathing seems to be more normal. Is he going to be okay now?
At this place, no. He needs to be admitted to the intensive care unit. He might need mechanical ventilation. There is overload in the cases here. No enough beds, no enough medications, no enough doctors, and no enough nurses. It's too much overload.
The emergency ward is so crowded that Atan is fighting for his life while sharing a bed with another critically ill child. There's a sense of chaos in the ward as another emergency unfolds a few steps away. It's a boy with malaria but malnutrition has made him weak. They've just rushed the child in and everyone has gone over to work on him right now, and it looks like he's not breathing. The doctors do everything they can, working frantically to resuscitate the boy, but it's too late.
السبب الرئيسي الأول سوء التغذية. 90% من الحالات يعني الأطفال خاصة الأطفال children 90% من السكان يعني من الحالات المركزة عندنا في المستشفى malnutrition.
It is a terrifying atmosphere in here. The fact that a child can die on one bed just meters away from where another is fighting for his life, and the parents focusing on their children with all this grief around them. It's a terrible situation. Atan is still in serious trouble. He's so dehydrated, doctors can't even get a blood sample from his fingers.
يعني الآن لما خرج دم يخرج بلازما ما بليد ماشي no blood plasma.
They send his father, Abdulaziz, out to buy saline solution to get emergency fluids into his body. All patients here get free treatment but have to pay for their medication. I don't know if he's even got the cash for it. Abdulaziz farms a small plot of land 50 kilometers away. His income is tiny, and he's spent all he has and borrowed just to get Atan to hospital. If they ask you to get anything else, you run out of money now. Abdulaziz only has enough money to get one of the medicines that he's been told he needs, so we're going to pay for the rest of it. It is life-saving treatment. Atan seems to have stabilized and he's breathing again. His parents are just coming to terms with what's happened. How are you feeling at the moment?
والله ضبح تعب بالنسبة لليوم الوضع متغير والوضع مش غير الوضع.
Can you tell me what you eat every day?
بالنسبة للتغذية هذا بنزل على دقيق خلاص. يعني بالنسبة للتغذية هذه من الأمراض لا من التغذية ما فيش تغذية ولا شيء.
Yemen's food supply was always vulnerable. More than 90% of it is imported. I'm travelling to where most of it is brought in. The port of Hodeidah on the Red Sea. Over the last 18 months, it's been heavily bombed by the Saudi-led coalition.
I think the plane came from this way, this side, hit here.
I'm meeting Dr. Jamal Thabit, who runs one of Yemen's biggest conglomerates. This is an airstrike. Thabit operates many businesses at the port, but it's the food factories that have been bombed. What happened here?
We were hit with 5 missiles. At one time, it was one of the major cooking oil factory in the country. And as you see now, the whole thing was destroyed.
25 workers died in a fire that raged for 3 days. How much market share did you have?
About 40%.
40% of the cooking oil in Yemen came from your business and it was wiped out.
Yes.
We drive to the water's edge and it quickly becomes obvious why food imports have been so disrupted. So all of these were hit? Every one of the 5 cranes that unload the ships bringing food to Yemen has been destroyed, surgically taken out by airstrikes. It's an astonishing degree of targeting. The missiles took out the drivers' cabs, making all 5 of these giant cranes completely useless. And the only ships that can dock here now are ones that have got their own cranes on board. It all makes the process painfully slow.
Those cranes are beyond repair, and they're not safe now. They're very dangerous to any vessel to port here.
The UN said Saudi Arabia broke international humanitarian law by bombing the port, factories and warehouses like these. The Saudis deny breaking the law saying the strikes were aimed at a Houthi military base. The port managers tell me they believe Saudi coalition warplanes carried out the strikes, possibly using British and American weapons.
هذا سريال نمبر بس مع القصف
مع الاحتراق.
We've shown these images to weapons experts who say they could be part of either Paveway 4 or Paveway 2 guided bombs, made in Britain and America, respectively. Britain's understood to have sold more than 2,000 Paveway 4s to Saudi Arabia last summer, and Human Rights Watch have documented their use on food warehouses nearby. Britain has sold more than £3 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia since it began bombing Yemen. What's been done here is truly shocking. This port brings in 70 to 80% of all the imports to Yemen, a country almost entirely dependent on imported food. So there's no way you could disable this port without knowing it'll have a catastrophic effect on ordinary people. And it's been done with the help of British and American weapons. A naval blockade by the Saudi coalition is in place to stop the Houthis importing weapons from Iran. But this has caused long delays for all shipments, including aid supplies. Yahya Abbas, the port manager, shows me what he says the delays have caused. Oh my goodness. That's just unbelievable. 45,000 bags of flour rotting away in this warehouse. The port manager says the delays were so long at sea that by the time these bags got onto land, they were already past the use-by date. There are people out there starving. And looking at this is frankly obscene. How many people could be fed by this?
طبعاً بحسب العدد 45,000 أسرة لفترات يعني تقريباً شهر.
Food supply is so badly affected that in the villages near the port, malnutrition is rife. Today, a mobile team of medics are visiting the village of Al Juraini, just an hour's drive away from Hodeidah. Dr. Mohammed says malnutrition levels here are the worst he's ever seen.
يعني نسبة 70% 70% اللي عندهم سوء تغذية حاد وخيم و20% اللي عندهم سوء تغذية حاد متوسط.
What's going on here with this child?
وضع الطفل هذا الطفل يعاني من سوء تغذية حاد وخيم. هذا المقياس إذا كان أقل من 11.5 يعتبر سوء تغذية حاد وخيم. إذا كان فوق 11.5 إلى 12.5 يعتبر سوء تغذية حاد متوسط.
The doctors prescribe a mixture of vitamins, folic acid and nourishing paste made from peanuts.
هذا البلمبليت الذي يعطى للأطفال المصابين بمرض سوء التغذية الحاد الوخيم. شوفي كيف؟ شوفي هنا. ارفعي راسه.
It's a good sign that this baby, Wahabala, has got an appetite. Another child arrives in a very serious condition. This is Bassam and his mother, Fatia. How old is this child?
1 year.
1 year old.
حجم ولاده يوم ولد أقل يعني this 3 كيلو عندها
3 kilos.
3 كيلو عندها يحتاج رعاية أكثر يحتاج قسم داخلي.
Bassam has severe acute malnutrition.
أكثر رضاعة مو كثير.
So what do you feed him?
سيريلاك اشتري له تغذية أحيانا على حسب زبادي.
Bassam's case is urgent and he needs to be in hospital, but money is standing in the way at the moment, so we're going to see if we can take him. Bassam's father arrives and we head off. Mohammed drives a motorbike taxi but the war has destroyed his income. Petrol's very expensive now, and there are few customers. Do you and your wife go without so that you can give more to the children?
أيوة طبعا. أحيانا نضل ما بعدنا أكل ما شيء يلا تأكل ذيلا يعني بس صعب مرة إنه ما فيش شغلة ما فيش أمل ما فيش ذاك شغله كله سيك الموتور بترول غالي بترول ذا يلا اللي تحصله في البنزين.
How does it make you feel when you see him like this?
أنا حرق بس ما بيدي حاجة.
We take Bassam to hospital in Hodeidah for treatment, and then head north to Hajj province, where airstrikes have been even more intense. Bombing continued throughout our visit, even though there were peace talks in Kuwait between the Saudis and Houthis at the time. According to the UN, 2.8 million people have been driven from their homes since the war started. Many are in grim camps like this one near Abs. They're organised by the UN, working with aid agencies like Oxfam and MSF. But the camps are desperately underfunded. The UN says it only has the resources to feed 1 in 10 of those at risk of starvation. Well, we've arrived in the middle of a sandstorm, and we've driven in about half a mile, and all the way are these little tented villages of people, and they've all travelled down from the north where there has been intense bombing in places, and they've come here to this, well, frankly, pretty dreadful place to seek refuge. As I walk through the camp, I can hear the sound of military jets in the sky. People here are hungry and terrified. Fatima and Sadiq invite me in to meet their family as they make a meal of bread and lentils. Their daughter Safa has been diagnosed as malnourished by doctors who visited yesterday, but they could only leave a few extra rations.
كان حلمي ان تكبر بنتي وتصير دكتورة تصير اراها بخير واراها متعافى اراها تقوم تمشي بالدنيا وذا الحين تعبانة اشوفها وزد لي ضيقة يجي لي ضياق الحين عيالي صغار ذا الحين يسمعوها يرزموا كذا ما يقدروا لا ياكلوا ولا يروحوا بعدي وخلينا الاكل ورحنا.
Sadiq says the family are totally reliant on a meagre aid supply. They haven't eaten meat or vegetables in over a year.
يهبوا لنا كيس 3 شهور وما نحصل حق الطحن حقه. الطحن ما فيه. يلا واحد يقسم الكيس نصين وباع نص عشان يطحن هذاك النص يروحوا لأهله.
Sadiq pulls me aside. This is something he knows his wife can't bear to see. What is this place?
هذه المقبرة الذي ماتوا أولادهم من سوء التغذية والكبار والأطفال.
These are gravestones.
يوم مات يعني شاف أن الأطفال الذي يموتوا من سوء التغذية شاف أنهم يشيلهم إلى المقبرة.
Is that why your wife didn't want to come with us?
شاف أنهم وخلاص طاحت وأغمت عليها يعني لو سوي بنتها تسوي زيها لو بنتها يحصل لها زي ما حصل لهم.
What do you think when you look at this?
ما أقدر يعني أفسرها إلا عند الله إرادة الله ما عندي أي شيء.
There are so many people here living right on the edge, and it's the youngest children where you can see the effects of malnutrition beginning. Camps like this are getting some help, but it's sporadic and not nearly enough. And if that doesn't change, there's going to be a disaster. After our week travelling around Yemen, trying to understand what's causing this crisis, We've come back to the capital, Sana'a, and the Children's Emergency Unit. Imtiaz is still here, and after 5 days of care, is looking better. How is she?
كأنها تحسنت، كانت تحسنت، والآن تحسنت شوي شوي، ولا منها أنا غلبت ترضع، أنا استطيع منها، أنا ما أقدر نصب لها في المصائب.
And how are you? How are you feeling?
ما قدرت أكل ولا أشرب ولا أنا عبد الله مريضة، استرت. جالسة معينة قلنا نخرج قالوا زيد نعينها وهي البنت تحسن، جدها يقول خليها تحسن شوي. نخرج. أحبها كثير، البنت ولدي.
But I wanted news of Atan, the baby who was so malnourished he was struggling to breathe. His father, Abdulaziz, is still in Sana'a and meets me later. Can you tell me what happened?
دخلوا العناية المركزة قالوا ما فيش ماء. جلس هنا يعني تعب. فما حصل أن يدخلوه هنا في العناية إلا بعد بدو تعب زيادة. فجلس هناك يوم ونص في العناية.
2 days ago, alone without the rest of their family, Abdulaziz and his wife Jamila buried their only child Atan here early in the morning. Why did you bury him in Sana'a and not take him back?
طبعا القرية بعيد مسافة 50 أو 60 كيلو فما فيش سيارة.
Will you be able to come and visit him here?
إن شاء الله فترة يعني بعيد مشي واصل. والله الحمد لله كان في ابتسامات وفي حركات ولعابات. والله أذكر الأيام هذه تحزن حزن قوي. أتذكر الأيام هذه مرت
Just after we left Yemen, the peace talks collapsed and Saudi forces began heavy airstrikes on Houthi areas again. Within days, more than 50 people, including many children, had been killed. 19 in one airstrike at this MSF-supported hospital in Abs. The medical charity withdrew all its staff from northern Yemen. Seeing children dying for lack of food in the middle of Yemen's war is hugely shocking. And there are hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of children who can't even get to hospital. With both sides entrenched, there's no sign of this war ending soon, or the humanitarian crisis it has caused. And the tragedy is that amidst the fighting, the UN and aid agencies will find it even harder to bring people and supplies in to stop babies dying of hunger. This has long been called a forgotten war. Question is, will it be a forgotten famine? Thanks for watching this classic Unreported World episode. Click the logo to subscribe for more award-winning documentaries from the Unreported World team. We upload videos every Wednesday and Sunday, keeping you up to date with content from all over the world.